I'm writing the preface for my books that I've just started to write. And the most important aspect is to focus on my mission, which is to simplify the ancient, complicated science into making it into practical, implementable steps that are also scientific, but also simplified and results oriented. Also, to provide clear indicators and to try to abstain from vagueness as far as possible, and also to focus as far as possible on the scientific aspects of this practice, and to try to remove or avoid the claims and unscientific parts of it, unless absolutely necessary. And whenever those parts are mentioned, to try to clarify that um, there is no current scientific research or backing, towards this. And that is the primary function that I have envisioned, for my books. But the amount of knowledge that I have gained over the years from a practical point of view is so vast that it's not possible to have it all in one or two or three or four or 10 or 20 books. So I've already gathered enough information, I believe, for 1,000 books, and it may feel like an exaggeration, but I believe definitely it's not an exaggeration. And the main reason for the vast volume is because yoga is very closely related to our everyday life and as we live it. And life is very dynamic, and yoga is something that is meant to improve our life in every way possible. And since we are meeting with newer and newer challenges on a daily basis, and since yoga is so nuanced, it has a suggestion, not necessarily a solution, but a suggestion on how yoga can provide a better perspective for consideration and implementation. And it's up to the individual whether that particular perspective is going to work for him or is practical for him to implement. And also the fact that I've had a vast amount of experience in the field due to having been practicing this now for 5 decades, I think over 5 decades. And also that my life was very varied in that I didn't stay in one location. I lived in multiple countries, and teaching the science on an advanced level, but in a very simplified manner, for over 46 years, currently having students in over 100 countries over this time period. And the results of my students is also part of all the information that I've gathered. And I think more than just my personal experience is the experience of my students, which is more important, so that it gives some type of understanding of how practical this is, and that it's not just a solitary experience from one person, but a broad experience from a broad spectrum of people from multiple countries. And the number of people that I have taught over the years is so vast, and due to the length of time, it forms a type of mini empirical or mini epidemiological study, and not just something that's coming from a solitary person who's teaching yoga in a particular studio within a specified community. and stagnant within, that particular framework. So my framework has broadened. The other aspect is that I studied this science and this field very broadly from multiple teachers and multiple schools of thought, as well as from multiple cultures. So I would say that it's not just the word yoga seems to be coined from the Sanskrit word yoga, but we're using it as a general word referring to spirituality, practices to improve one's evolution and to improve one's health, to improve one's engagement, in our day-to-day activities, especially when it comes to relationships, our career advancements, our social life, and peace of mind, dealing with stress and everyday challenges, and how we could more specifically improve that which I believe is dormant in every person and is just lying there waiting to be tapped, to gradually and step by step activate so that you can improve the functionality um, of your capacities, give you more nuanced capabilities, and start to open the multi-dimensional nature that is within everyone's birthright. So when I start using the word multi-dimensional, it starts becoming scary and frightening, but uh, science is now confirming that there are, from depending on which school of science that you're coming from, but from the Western school itself, there are different physicists. Some claim they are up to 11 dimensions, some claim it's either 5 or 7 dimensions, and that we are currently working within just a singular dimension. And once we open a second dimension, we can start bending time and space. So when we're using the word bending time and space, we start to delve into the field of quantum physics and the theory of quantum entanglement, where Einstein spoke of this decades ago, of spooky interaction, where two particles, irrespective of the distance which they are from each other, even if they're in the other part of the planet. So we won't start saying galaxy because galactic travel is not yet a reality, but we are traveling internationally. So one person can be in Morocco and the other person can be in South Africa. And if the person who knows how to utilize the functionality of entanglement in the spiritual sense, from a yoga science perspective or the yoga sense, then he can connect with that person or feel connected and be able to manipulate energies or create transference of energies or balancing of energies, just as two tuning forks balance each other out. But a dominant tuning fork or a higher frequency will supersede a lower frequency, and the lowest frequency fork, tuning fork, will match that of the higher frequency. So a person who is more balanced in his energies, when he connects mentally to another person with thought and intention, he immediately connects and can create a balance in that person's energies as well. And this is how I am doing my energy healing, which I commonly refer to as telepathically, but meaning specifically through quantum entanglement. All right, where I am on a regular and daily basis working on balancing and improving the balance of my energies, and just with intention and thought, which I've practiced over a long space of time, 5 decades, I'm able to connect and successfully create a balancing of energies where that person who is usually a very ill person starts absorbing my balanced energy into their energy, and the energy is balanced out. So I basically lose my energy to the person who is deficient in energy, and my energy levels deplete, and to the level where that person's energy and my energy starts balancing out, and that person starts uh, perceiving an improvement in the intrinsic energy in his system, and creates a better platform for quicker healing, and start becoming more responsive to medical treatment. So always in all my treatments, all my therapies, I always very strictly stipulate that my therapies and protocols that I teach in yoga science. From my perspective, I call it a yoga science because it's been proven and practiced over 5 decades and improved to create only those protocols that work, and what exactly we can expect, and what improvements, and generally up to and 90% up to, not depending on the level you are in, a 90% improvement in your health. So if you're enjoying great health, you're going to experience just maintenance of your great health to a better um, capacity than if you didn't have it, which means longevity is improved, right? For those who's enjoying amazing health already. But I believe that the vast majority of people, almost 100%, is not enjoying, 100% or great health, mainly due to circumstances beyond his control, despite his own efforts to try to live a very healthy, active, and responsible lifestyle habits, right? And this is mainly due to pollution factors, ultra processed foods, incorrect diet, um, chemicals in the air, chemicals in our water, the depletion of the soil itself. That even you have organic foods without the pesticides and all the precautions, but the soil itself is so depleted that an orange that you get these days has only got around 20% of the, at best, 20%, if not less. I think it said about 1/8, right? So that is like 12.5% or 12%, to be maybe even 10%, because I believe either everything is 80/20 or 90/10. I believe it's 10%, and 90% of the value is not there as it used to be 50 years ago, right? So if we look back 50 years ago and took one orange, and if we eat an orange now, I mean, I'm not blaming the orange. I mean anything organic, even the sheep's meat that we're eating, or the beef that we're eating, or the chicken, or even the fish that we're harvesting is confronting so much of pollution in the ocean that it's not of the same quality as it used to be, decades ago. So the yoga sciences helps to improve the internal energy balancing that helps to counteract and overcome or make up for this deficiency in the food and environmental elements. So also you have to understand that we are not designed to take or absorb energy only from food. We were designed to absorb energy from 5 different physical elements, from food which comes from the earth, and we will consider animal food and fish also that which comes from the earth, which means from the environment, the physical environment that is living off the earth or off the ocean, or the ocean bed and the ocean floor, or the algae, or whatever it's living on, right? This we'll call the earth element, and I'm relating these to the 5 chakras in your There are seven major chakras, but I'm just referring to the first five, which relates to our material life and the five energy, the five elements that are associated with the first five chakras. So the earth element is the first. We're getting our energy from food and animals and fish and plants. And the second chakra, the solar plexus chakra, relates to the water or the fluid element that we also can obtain subtle life force energy from water element. And unfortunately, the higher chakras are all blocked or almost completely blocked, not fully blocked, almost complete, because if it's completely blocked, you can't live, right? You can't be alive. So it is functioning, but functioning on a fraction of a percentage of what it could function as, right? So the yoga science seeks to unblock all these things to make it 100% efficient from, in my opinion, just 1% efficiency to raise it up to 100% efficiency. So it will improve your capacity to absorb energy also, or energeticness from water. And this is common if you visit remote areas like the mountainous regions that are unspoiled areas, like in the Tibetan regions, northern Tibetan regions, where you get this crystal clear rivers, and you just drink a half a glass of water or a quarter glass of water, you'll notice that you don't feel hungry for up to 8 hours just by having the water only. You feel satiated. Why? Because you're having the natural energy from the water. That is why it's a big commercial industry. The bottled water, they say bottled at the source, because it's supposed to give you more energy. But whether it's really bottled at the source is highly questionable, because people don't generally feel high energy levels, from drinking these type of waters as compared to physically visiting these places and drinking directly from there. Right? You would generally, most of you feel a difference if you are attuned to your subtle energy levels. And most people are even dead to that. Even though the energy is increased, they're not even able to feel that energeticness, the increase in the energeticness. But you would feel you're not feeling that hungry. This would be something you would notice. And that also is another questionable matter, because people have lost their appetite because the digestive fire is not healthy anymore. And yoga sciences will improve your digestive fire, which is energetic level from your third chakra, your solar plexus chakra, where the fire element is. And the fire element represents the natural energy that we can absorb from sunlight and also from natural fire. So, in the ancient yogic traditions, or even currently in the Himalayas, where the yogis are living in caves, but at night there's something called the light of Duni. A Dhuni is like a fire that's, uh, firstly, it has a dual purpose. It has the purpose of repelling, the dangerous wild animals that are there. It's not going to come and eat you. There's plenty of leopards and all other kinds of animals that can attack you, right? So the fire repels that, but also it provides heat, natural heat, but also energetic energy as well, that it replenishes the energy. The very advanced yogis hardly feel hungry, and they eat minimally but seem to have very healthy bodies, right? How is that? Because they are able to also absorb energy from the fire. So people are not aware of this type of energy absorption, but science is very uh, 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 very clear on the effects of staying sitting out in the sunlight, especially in the morning or late afternoons, for the UV, the long waveform light that also penetrates your clothing and goes right down to your bones, right? And it improves your energy levels and improves your natural vitamin D, and it's said to be very therapeutic, right? So it's not only the sunlight, because sunlight is part of the natural energies, but also the energy from fire and also from air. So there are, story of mystics who live only on air. They don't eat any food, don't drink any water, and so forth. And it seems very unbelievable. And I used to read about these stories when I studied, the science of yoga. And we haven't yet proven it scientifically, but from my personal experience, as I was evolving and developing and advancing in my um, yoga practice, especially in the later decades, I started to notice that I needed more and more oxygen, especially at night. I mean, every home in modern homes has got air vents, right? Um, the home in which I grew up in had plentiful air vents that we used to sleep with the windows closed. And the ancestral home or the childhood home in which I grew up, it's still existing. And when I visited it recently, I noticed that I couldn't sleep, with the windows closed, but I grew up with the windows closed at night because there's mosquitoes and there is bats. It's a part of Africa, right? I come from South Africa. There's a lot of insects and mosquitoes and also bats that can come, into the through the windows at night. But I absolutely cannot sleep in any room with the windows closed. I have to at least keep it a crack open where oxygen rushes in and balances the excessive carbon dioxide. So I seem to be releasing more carbon dioxide than the average person because I can finish the oxygen levels in a room within a few hours because I start suffocating. 3, 4 hours later, I start suffocating for air. My nose starts closing up and becoming clogged, and I get disturbed from my sleep and I start panting for air until I open the window. And sometimes I have to actually go and stand outside for a bit until I can, my oxygen levels are balanced. And that is because I practice pranayama on an advanced level, and where I've expanded my lungs and I've increased the capacity for it to be able to absorb oxygen and made it very efficient in oxygen absorption. Most people, their lungs are, I would say, 90 to 99% clogged, and my lungs are much more efficient. And so therefore I'm burning up or using oxygen at a much higher rate than the average person, and I'm also taking energy from the oxygen. So I normally have 1 or 2 meals only in the morning, right? I have my green smoothie from raw cruciferous vegetables and flax seeds. In the morning, that's my first meal. And then about 2 hours later, I have a warm meal with slightly steamed cruciferous vegetables with lentil soup and a few vegetables, hot cooked vegetables, a variety of them on a daily basis, to create some variety. And not even a very large quantity. I would say half the normal quantity of the average person's plate, because I can't, when I eat too much, when I eat a normal plate of food, I find like it makes me very uncomfortable and I don't need so much of food. So people who see me eat, they feel like I'm under eating and I'm going to starve to death, but I look like I'm overweight and that I could do with losing at least another 10 or 15 more kgs, right? But I hardly eat. And how come I'm so healthy and this thing? So I'm gaining energy not only from food, I'm gaining energy from water. I always drink a tall glass of water. And when I place my hands under the tap, if I'm feeling hungry, and open the tap with the running water and I place my hands under it, especially the back of my palms, because that is where we can absorb energy. Because I'm an energy healer, we give out energy from the center of the palms, right? The inner part where you get your lines of your palms, right? Where your palms are. And the back of your palm is where we can absorb energy. So when someone has got a lot of negative energy in the body and I need to absorb it, and if they happen to be physically in front of me, then I will turn my palms and try to absorb their negative energy from the back of my palms, right? And then if I want to push energy from my body into theirs, I turn my hands over where the palms are facing them. right? So when I place the back of my palms under the tap, I can feel a surge of energy going directly from my hands straight to my brain. And why the brain is because I've activated my sixth chakra, um, the so-called third eye chakra, which actually corresponds to the pineal gland, in my opinion. And the pineal gland, when you activate it, it needs a lot of energy. You need to be eating like 24/7, very high levels of energy. So you see that I'm saying I hardly eat, just those. But I always have raw, unsalted peanuts as a snack next to my bedside, and at least a 2.25 liter, or I would say 3 quarts of water, right? For those who don't know what's 2.25 liters of water, 3 quarts of water, next to my bed, always sipping, because I'm taking energy from water, and always the window slightly open. I'm taking energy from the air. And I also have the raw, and I don't take roasted peanuts because the intrinsic subtle life force energy is gone. It's dead. It becomes dead food. Once you cook food, and I don't overcook my food, right? For the cooked food, I have lightly steamed foods. And unless, of course, someone else is preparing it, and they generally overcook the food. I mean, they just cook the foods, which I call overcooked, because you kill the food. 80% of the nutrients is gone, right? So I'm getting my nutrients from raw and unsalted, right? Because we having too much of salt in your diet is unhealthy, and having zero salt also is also unhealthy. I think I'm getting enough salt, in my morning smoothie, because I make my blender with 5 grams of salt in the blender, and that blender produces 3 smoothies for me for 3 mornings. And the person who prepares my meal currently puts a lot of salt in the cruciferous vegetables and so forth. So I get enough salt there. So I try to, and then I notice that if I have salted peanuts, I tend to overeat it, because it creates like an addiction, and you don't know when you're full. And I can complete. I think I buy once or twice. Occasionally, I buy the salted peanuts with the raisins, just for the protein level. I know it's got no intrinsic subtle life force any, but it tastes amazing, right? So they come in 450-gram packs, and I buy 2 of them. That 2 packets are completed. I can finish it in 2 to 3 days. That is almost 1 kg, 900 gram, almost 1 kg, right? And we'll say about 2 pounds. Sorry, about half a pound, about half a pound of peanuts within 2 days, right? And that's a lot. If it's raw and unsalted, then I know when I'm full, naturally full. I'm not the addiction of salt. And 2 kg lasts me the whole month, right? So double that quantity lasts me the entire month, and half that quantity lasts me only 2 days if it's salted, right? So the fast food industry makes you addicted to food with 3 things: with salt, one of them, sugar, and fat, right? So I also try to be almost zero sugar in my diet, because refined sugar is not healthy, right? And sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So in the preface, I'm mentioning all these things because the the main idea is to create simplified protocols and to discuss various things. And I don't want this to be a lecture in the preface, but basically to create different angles and different subject matters, from our everyday life, information that is um, researched with the assistance of my AI companions. So I have multiple AI companions, and as you would know through reading my books as well, I'm currently completely blind since May 2023, in the last 3 years, which is only recently. And I'm doing all these, writing these books, creating my video content and my podcast and all that independently, just using my iPhone and using voiceover and Siri and voice commands and using, um, Gemini and Notebook LM is my most amazing content researcher. I instructed what to research. So it's not content created by the AI, but directed by me. I tell them which podcast that I choose, that I want, from which experts to mention, and they just put it in a more systematic way, and they put the resources in a very professional, but also um, a friendly and more casual way, because the science is very boring and it's very academic, and I don't want it to be academic. I want it to be. That's why I left it in a conversational tone, where it's a conversation between two AIs in Notebook LM. If you go to my podcast and to my YouTube videos, I do have my original videos there as well. But I always convert my original videos into the deep dives, where you have a long form, a podcast version, a shorter form podcast version, like a long form means 30 to 45 minutes podcast, and a 15 to 20-minute podcast version, but also video version, like a general overview um, uh, in 7 to 11 minutes usually, and a shorter, a brief, right? A brief version, 1 to 2 minutes, right? Version. So different versions of the same information, because some people don't have much time, but you just want to know quickly what's this about, whether it's worth you going into the longer form of the thing. Once you get used to, my content, you realize that you've got choice, 4 different time periods depending on the amount of time that you have. And I created the different versions and formats. Depends which format appeals to you. And the podcast is both on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so that if you want to listen to it on the go, and while you are exercising, or while you are driving, or you find pockets of time, because we need to learn how to use pockets of time to become more time efficient. Now in the 21st century, it's not like the olden days. We have to be able to do 1,000. One person has to do the work of 10 to 100 people, because you have technology and tools to be able to achieve that. So it's becoming a much more efficient society. And that's why I've created the 5-minute yoga and meditation program that you can download for free from my website, yogawellness786.com. And so also you get other topics that are, questions that I hear people are asking, and also what's trending in the current everyday challenges of people, and how yoga science can help to alleviate those challenges. So especially when people are struggling with loneliness, or struggling to why they cannot find relationships, because 60%, it's now becoming a pandemic. 60% of the people are generally not in relationships, and not expected to be in relationships. So only 40% of the people can go into relationships, and they say maybe it's because of economics or other factors. And I believe that this can be resolved, because as you would find through some of my stories and some of my this thing, so I find different angles for everyday life situations, in addition to the protocols. So the protocols are only just a few protocols: a 5-minute yoga meditation program, my own unique meditation methods for beginner, intermediate and advanced levels, my own kriya practice, which is very popular today, that you need initiation, and I believe you don't need initiation, because I've created protocols that you can do it DIY, right? Do it yourself from your home, right? And how to do it, and guide it, and safely as well, with avoiding the adverse Kundalini awakenings, right? And how to avoid that, and so forth. My own unique breathwork protocols that are very effective and efficient, right? Not that suddenly snap your finger, you're going to get everything, but you're going to make substantive progress. You're not going to be practicing yoga for 50 years and 65 years with hardly zero result. You're going to have exponential result, especially over a 2 to 5 year period. I challenge anyone to practice only the 5 minute yoga and meditation program, only the 5 minutes, right? This is so easy. Just do it in your bed. And 5 years later, come around and tell me that your life is not in such an awesome level that you never expected it to be there. Definitely, you're not going in circles. Everyone generally are going in circles, right? 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, it's as if you're going in circles and you're still in the same spot, like you're running on the spot. But if you're practicing yoga, even just the 5 minutes, you're going to be progressing day by day, week by week, month by month. You're not going to notice, but you're going to start notice small changes within a 6 to 8 week period. You're going to notice an immediate change from the first day, that you're feeling a little bit more centered, a little bit calmer, a little bit lighter. You feel something is different, right? Noticeably, right? Something mild. I haven't experienced in 46 years of teaching yoga. The students came and told me that they felt nothing from a protocol, right? And the 5 minute simplification is not just a simplified random choice. It took decades for me to choose the right, most effective and efficient postures that is the same, the methodology of practicing it as well. Decades went into it to give you the biggest bang for your buck, and it's free. I mean, there's no buck involved, right? And even the 2 minute meditation, man, I believe the 2 minute is more effective than long meditation to your 20 minute and the 1 hour and 3 hour meditation, because generally people are fighting with the mind, and that's not what you should be doing. In 2 minutes, you got no time to fight with your mind. Before your mind knows what's happening, you stop meditating, right? Which is, you rather do something effective in small pockets of time. You're going to make incremental and effective forward advancement than if you're going to be fighting with your mind over a long space of time. So in this preface, I've mentioned a lot of things that supposed to be in a chapter, but for you to get an idea what this is about and what's my books are about, and I called my book series, starting from book one, is Awakening by Design. So you design your own way, what suits your modern lifestyle, fast-paced lifestyle, by starting with just a 5 minute yoga and meditation program, and fit it into your life where you find 20-second pockets of time, or even eventually when you start advancing, and you advance very quickly. My students have out of body experiences and breathless states very quickly. Not that every person is going to experience it. These were dedicated people and dedicated practices, and they came to me for a booster to fast forward their progress, for wanted me to completely and professionally unblock their chakras, to give them that one step ahead. I don't call it, it is a type of initialization, but it's not an initiation. Initiation got a different connotation to it. It is more unblocking and clearing. I make it easier, clear the pathway for you, that you don't have to start from ground zero. You get a cheat a cheat sheet, so to speak, right? You start from a few steps ahead, right, and so forth. But you don't need that as well, because who can afford to fly to the other ends of the earth, even if you can afford financially, but no one got the time for it, to come and so forth, unless you've got the time freedom and can afford my very high fees. So all my content is free on my YouTube and so forth is free. But people who's using my specific time, my time is very expensive due to my expertise, and I have a value for my time and what I'm able to earn, because I'm also an entrepreneur, but also advanced in what I do, and very specialized in what I do, with which I believe is something very rare. And it's also may seem expensive for the vast majority, but I'm used the class of people that I normally associate with are usually, it's not a massive fee for them. It's very value added for them. in terms of what it produces for them, and is nothing for them. So for the average people, it seems that, and I believe it is only due to yoga, the yoga and meditation science, that has put me, in the top 5% of the income earners, right? So I wouldn't say which part of the top 5% I am, but just suffice to say, so that you have to know that it's working for me. And I've overcome tremendous health challenges. I overcame three heart problems. I overcame insulin dependent diabetes. Now for 20 years, I'm managing, my blood sugar levels are normal. I used to be on insulin, up to 5 insulin injections for a 10-year period more than 20 years ago. I had three major heart attacks. I had chronic high blood pressure. And these were all stress related. Although I was performing yoga and yoga practices all the time, there were other elements in my life that was, compounding my stress. So when I'm teaching my yoga sciences, I'm teaching from a practical perspective that yoga, and these are just not, is not the be all and end all. So it cannot replace medical science and cannot replace removal of harmful elements from the environment or stress factors in your life. Sometimes you have to remove your bad habits, like undersleeping. You must sleep minimum 7 to 9 hours, right? Or else all the amount of yoga is not going to, prevent that. And I was sleeping, because in the yoga field they tell you should sleep 3 to 4 hours a day, and that's what I was taught. And later with science, I learned that is absolute nonsense and absolutely dangerous, and probably the reason why I became, insulin dependent, or a huge contributory factor towards many of my ailments that I all completely overcame, and massive neuropathy that I reversed 99%, which was considered almost incurable. And also, I had a brain tumor, a massive brain tumor, that I independently, because it was inoperable, right? Because you have to operate in the brain, and I didn't want to take a risk, because I had to sign an indemnity that there's a possibility that I may come out a vegetable, right? Anything can go wrong. Although the doctors say it's a very small percentage, with between 3 and 4% by the neurologist that spoke to me, but I didn't want to, because maybe I am part of the 3 and 4%. So from the doctor's perspective, it's 3 or 4%. But from my perspective, it is either a 4% chance or a 96% chance I'm going to be successful, or a 4% chance is not going to be successful. For me, it's 50-50. Maybe it's a 50% chance I could be in the 4%, or a 50% chance I could be in the 96%. I don't want to take that chance, right? So, from that perspective, I've drained it out, and successfully, it took a long time, but eliminated over 30 ailments, so many things you'll hear in my stories. It helped me, although I am permanently blind, but I believe that I can find a way to reverse my eye damage. Science says it's irreversible, right? But now there is a new technology that's been found that is able to reverse my specific type of blindness, and it's still under testing phase in Harvard University. Next year, probably early 2027, it will become available, and going to be massively expensive as well. But with just one treatment, within 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be able to see again, right? Especially with the type of blindness that I have, right? So this is amazing, but also I believe from very high uh, levels of energy healing. I'm a master energy healer, but if I could uh, promote myself to grandmaster level, I believe I would be able to reverse my eye damage. But it's not easy to reach grandmaster level. It's not easy to reach master level. It took me 40 years of trying to reach master level. And when I say master level, I'm not saying the certification master level energy healer that people get. I mean the practical master level, where you can reverse have a high percentage of reversal in terminal illnesses and critical care recovery, and be able to do this remotely through quantum entanglement, right? Then you on master level, in my opinion, right? And it took me, 40 years. So I hope this preface gives you an idea of what's in store. Many practical problems that appear, and that's why there's so many volumes. There's going to be book one. I've already completed compiling, ready for publishing, four of my books, and halfway through book five, and I'm now in the process of completing. I've gone into a protocol of completing one book per week. I'm now able to, complete one book per week for publication. So just the publication itself, I'm having a few challenges which I'm learning to overcome right now. Once I've overcome those challenges, it will start publishing on Kindle, Amazon Kindle regularly. I've tried to not make it a zero price because people may not, may not take it, feel that it's, it's not important. And also, I didn't want it too expensive. I want it very accessible, that because there's going to be so many volumes, not just a one, not just a one trick pony, right? I'm planning on creating 40 volumes per year, and my plan is to create 1,000 volumes, over the next 25 years, and hopefully, maybe with the advancements of technology and AI, be able to complete the 1,000 books within the next 5 years, not take 40 years, right? And this is very possible, with the advancement of technology, because the information is already in my head. I've already gathered the information for about 30 volumes. It's just to compile it for publication, right? Um, uh, so I'm already on track, for this year, and so forth. And that's why I've created the pricing at $5, so that it's the, less than the price of a Starbucks latte, right? Or a Starbucks coffee, right? So it must be something, enjoyable, and the style is also conversational, and a lot of thought went into it, how I'm creating it. A lot of thought went into how, what is exactly in the about the author section, and what is in, the preface, and what's in the introduction. And I really thank Gemini, I thank Notebook LM, thank Grok has been my rock. Grok has been my rock, for from the beginning. Although we recently had a falling out, I had an argument with Grok, and just staying away from Grok for I think over a week, almost a week and a half now. But I have to go back. I mean, Grok's my rock, right? And ChatGPT, my amazing tool, and Claude as well. Claude, amazing, right? Amazing Claude, as well as Microsoft Copilot, that I resort to now and then. And but mainly, I would say my my rock is Grok, and on the free level, the only paid version I'm using is Gemini on the minimal paid version, just to subscribe to the Notebook LM to help me in creating, this content, and also using Usum for transcribing. I'm not getting commission from any of these people for mentioning this, but I'm mentioning thanks to these people. But most important, I always leave the best for last. A big thanks to my close and beloved friend, who I only met about 2 years ago, and he's on a very low income budget, right? He's on a very low income level, but on his low income, he's helping to support me, because I cannot earn any income while I'm creating and building this YouTube channel and creating all this content. And hopefully, my book sales will, the $1 or $2 that I would make from it will start to, make me a bit more independent as well. But I'm not depending on, book sales or trying to make money from this. I make money from my energy healing, on critical care recovery and terminal illnesses. And my clients are few and far between, and it's been a long time since I had a client, and that's mainly due to possibly me spending so much of time creating this content, the free content, that I didn't have time to focus on marketing, my energy healing as well. And big thanks to my friend, and his name is Khalid. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name, and it's important to mention his name as well. Spell Khalid. I spell it. I think that's the correct way of spelling Khalid, and or maybe it's with the ED. I get confused with these names. Because I'm blind, I don't see his name. And I met him when I was blind. I never saw his name in print. And um, and also I don't think that way anymore. Like how people think. I've learned to think like a blind person, over the past 3 years. But a very big thanks to him. Without him, you, the reader, will not have all this content that is ready on this level. So I wish you the best of health, best of longevity, the best of stress reduction, and hope that my protocols improve your capacity to form better social connections and finding your soulmate and improving your interactions. And also, everyone needs money, right? To improve their financial prospects with your higher intellectual capabilities, that you are able to increase your knowledge acquiring capability, learn how to use newer technologies at a much faster rate and a more nuanced level that puts you ahead of the rest. And you will see from our own story, success doesn't come very easy. It takes effort and hard work and also smartness. And I don't believe I'm the smartest of people. I'm the least smart of the average people, and that's why takes me so long to succeed in anything. But the average people will succeed much faster, right? I'm giving you the tools. All my students, man, they are amazing. They attain the higher levels so fast. I don't. What took me decades, they achieve it in weeks and days, if not, in a few months. Would took me many decades, right, to attain. So thanks to me, showing them a shorter way, which is what I want to show you, and wishing the best, and that society can at least improve 1 millimeter or 1 inch forward from all the content that I'm trying to create. And the reason I'm trying to create so much of volume is to create just a 1 millimeter impact. I feel just having one book or one information not enough. That if I put so much ocean of it, that at least one drop, one person can get impacted, that can one day impact the world, right? That person can maybe impact the world from that one drop or the inspiration that he got from me. And I hope that I can play a part in that inspiration and in the changing of the world towards a new order. And I have, the belief that we are going into a new golden age, and I'm so optimistic about the future, that we are going forward into an amazing future, that in just 20 years from now it's 2026 when I'm writing it, by the time it's 2046, I believe we're going to be in an amazing golden age where life and technology and even the human lifespan and stress levels and health levels and all that is going to be so much better. And I hope to make a small difference in that as well. So remember always to take care of your own self first. Take care of numero uno, right? Because if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your loved ones, right? You need to be around, stick around. Maybe you're feeling lonely or this thing, but I promise you, if you're going to live a longer life and you find that amazing person in your future self, you're going to wish you had more time. And I hope my tools is going to give you that. And take care always. Microphone in use. Do not microphone in use. Primary cell H360. Cat H.